Good morning, guys. How are we doing? Excited for today because today I've just taken delivery of my latest edition of F8 magazine. If you're new to the channel, you've probably never heard of F8 magazine. Let me just introduce you to F8 magazine. If you've never tried street photography, now if you can't get out exploring and stuff because of lockdowns and stuff, now might be a good opportunity to try street photography. This is my own magazine, street photography magazine that I've published. This is issue 4, so it's been out 4 months. And I'm very, very proud to have my own image on the front cover of a magazine for the first time ever. So yeah, this is really, really cool. So really, really pleased to have some amazing photographers in this issue. We've got 2 interviews again. This guy is absolutely phenomenal, wonderful photographer, very cool. Some very, very nice travel shots in there as well. So really, really excited to get this magazine back, and it is absolutely stunning. Some wonderful, very, very quirky images in there. So yeah, do check out F8 magazine. I'll leave a link in the description. Maybe you've never tried or even heard of street photography, who knows? So yeah, this video I'm going to be giving you my first impressions on my new, I've had it a month, Nikon Z7, and this is the Mark 1. I bought the Mark 1 because it's an absolute steal at the minute. It's you know, I paid about £1,700 for the body, mint, no scratches, low shutter count, 3,000 photographs, which I don't even think means anything in mirrorless these days, certainly not on a Nikon anyway. So yeah, I couldn't be happier with this. Now the reason I'm doing this video is because I've never had so many messages, emails, texts, Instagrams asking about my thoughts on the Z7. You guys who watch my channel regularly know that I'm predominantly a Fuji shooter. So coming over to Nikon was like, what? Why would you do that? Now, I only did it because I wanted something that for my landscape photography. So say if you're a regular viewer, you know that my street photography, my events, when we can do them, weddings and all that sort of stuff, will all be on Fuji still. So I'm absolutely mad on the Fuji system. I love my Fuji cameras, and I've still got the X-T4, X-T3, and everything. So yeah, an X100V, wherever it is, X Pro 2. So I've still got loads of my Fuji stuff, but this is just for my landscapes. I really wanted to build a portfolio of images that are really high res, some high res panos. I must admit I struggle with the sharpening thing in Lightroom with Fuji as well. So when I seen how much the lenses and bodies were going for used, I thought I've just definitely got to go over and pick one up. So yeah, Nikon for me. I've never been a camera I've actually ever thought I'd own. Saying that, I've actually got a Nikon film camera. It's the only Nikon camera I've ever, FM2 in the back there. It's the only Nikon camera I've ever owned because I was always a Canon shooter. So coming over to Nikon was a bit of a, what the heck am I doing moment? But I'm super pleased with it. So yeah, I might have just spoiled the initial thing, but I am so impressed and happy with this camera. I really am. I couldn't be more pleased with it, to be honest with you. But yeah, this isn't a review. This is just a first impression, because if you guys are thinking about jumping over, grabbing a Nikon camera, or thinking about the Z mount cameras, maybe this will be of some use to you. But yeah, I've never ever shot Nikon before, so if you're like me, I've never touched Nikon before, maybe this would be helpful. So loads of notes for you. I'm gonna have to read it off my laptop. Apologies. So I bought it as a landscape camera, so I bought this to be used on a tripod with a 2-second timer, with filters, you know, nice and slow, single focus point and all that sort of thing. So not intended on doing any sports, wildlife or anything like that. I have chased my little boy around the front in the snow the other day, and the face detect was superb. Back button focusing, the face detect was absolutely superb. So I don't actually think it missed the shot, and especially on these Z mount lenses. What I'll do in the video is actually mention that there is a bit of a difference between the Z mount lenses and the adapted F mount lenses. Now this is all new to me, because obviously coming into Nikon new, I didn't know anything about the Nikon ecosystem, so I relied on a lot of friends to help me make decisions. Straight out the back though, I've got to say the Z mount lenses are incredibly sharp, and I just love the way that a lot of people don't like this, the way that you have to zoom them out to get them to 24mm, and then you obviously the lens works there. But look how small that is. I mean, it really is, really is tiny. So yeah, I think it's exceptional value for money. I think the used. The Z mount has been out for a couple of years now, so you can get some used bargains. I paid £450 for this lens. Yes, it's an f4, but it's absolutely worth. I mean, it's a flipping. I think it's a steal. I couldn't be happier with this. I really, really do think the f4 is a tiny little lens. The whole thing balances perfectly. You don't need any more than f4 really for landscapes. If you're going to do astrophotography, you're probably going to buy a prime anyway. So I'm always between f8, f11, f14, that sort of thing. So absolutely no issue for me with an f4 lens. Weather sealed, it just is. It completes the camera perfectly. So yeah, in that respect, the kit lens, as you will, if you can get it used, is a steal. It really is an amazing lens. I can't fault it actually. The focus is silent. It's fast. It tracks Ellis running around. It gets his face, gets his eye. I didn't even set the camera up, and it was already, because I got it second hand. I pressed back button focus. It was on wide. As soon as I pressed back button focus, it found his eye. So I didn't even do anything. The camera came as if the owner had it before me. Was shot the same way as me. So yeah, can't recommend it enough. Really, really do love the camera. So yeah, my magnetic filter on the top there. The lenses I picked up straight away are 24-70 kit lens f4. The and what's this? The 14 to 30 wide angle. Let's got a rattly adapter on there. Apologies for that. Again, you pop that out, and then it goes to 14mm and then to 30. But 14 to 30 is a bit of a weird one. But I really, really like it. I find it's a really, really nice focal point. And again, tack sharp. I literally can't fault the optics in it. I really can't. With this lens, I've definitely managed. I feel confident you can get like 1/10 of a second handheld. Not so sure about the 24 whether or not, because it's a big sensor, a big high res sensor. I'm not so sure whether or not I trust the 1/10 of a second on the 24 thing there, because I think it just exaggerates every sort of detail. But this one, the wide angle, yeah, definitely. So yeah, super pleased with that. All weather sealed, all built like a Brom, and then pretty much the first 3 weeks I had this, it was out in -20 conditions in the snow and everything. It held up absolutely perfect. It was completely caked in ice, and it was faultless, absolutely no issues whatsoever. The only thing that did happen was it got a bit of ice in that section there, and it stopped it stopped the screen coming on because there was ice jammed in there in the top part. So I didn't know that the sensor was there, so a bit of ice in there, tiniest bit of ice, and the screen wouldn't come on. But other than that, I managed to breathe on that for a couple of seconds, and it was absolutely fine. So yeah, no issues. I've been given, my mate Dave has lent me this Tamron 150 to 600 f-mount lens, and now I was super excited about this. Unfortunately, because it's the Mark 1, it doesn't work on the FTZ adapter. It's a manual focus only lens, so it's a real shame that this won't work on there. But if I ever did pick up a used Nikon body, f-mount body, then obviously this would work great on that. But yeah, I was super excited to get hold of this lens. I've never had anything past 200mm or 300mm. I think 300mm was the longest focal length I've ever had. So yeah, I was super excited to get hold of this lens, and yeah, really, it is a shame. But I also picked up the Sigma 100 to 400 f5 to 6.3. Again, landscape lens, so we don't really care about it being a slow aperture. This has become actually my favourite lens. Now, there's some. It's nowhere near as sharp as the Z mount lens is. Nowhere near. It's just not. But I've never had a 400mm before, and I've always felt that 200 and 300mm lenses, 70 to 200s, are fantastic for events, for weddings and portraits and that sort of stuff, product photography, video and that sort of thing. But on the mountain, when you're going to be f8, f11, whatever, on a tripod, 400mm is far more powerful just to be able to pick out details. And this is tiny. I think for 400mm with image stabilization, I think it's absolutely fantastic. Really small. Again, I got this used, and I picked this up for 400 quid. For a 400mm lens, it's 400 quid. One of you guys, actually, one of my subscribers reached out and said it was available. So yeah, mega pleased with this. It's not as sharp as the Z mount lens is, but it is superb. And I've already taken one or two of my favourite lenses, favourite photographs on this lens. So yeah, super pleased with this. But I will definitely be upgrading it to a Z mount lens as soon as I can, because I do want that extra sharpness. Although, yeah, I'm probably nitpicking a bit there. Okay, list. The good. Ergonomics. Absolutely perfect. If I'm honest, I think the back button focus is where I want it. I've got my dials where I want them. I've got my aperture on the front, my shutter on the back. what more do I need? I shoot fully manual. It's small. It's got a massive grip. I've got huge hands. I'm nowhere near the lens, and I haven't shot any primes on this, obviously, because I haven't got any primes. But from what I see, the 1.8 primes look like they've got loads of room there as well. In fact, they're probably the same sort of width as this lens. So I don't think there's any issue whatsoever with the ergonomics of this lens, of this camera. I'm super pleased with it. It's not that. It doesn't feel any bigger than the X-T4 I'm filming on now. It just feels like, because I've got the grip on the what do you call it? Small rig grip on the X-T4 now. It feels kind of the same. This has got a better grip on it, but the weather sealing and the build and the everything just feels like like Nikon are renowned for. It just feels like a tank basically. And I've seen people using them in extreme conditions and never having a problem. So the focusing's good. Even with the Z mount, I was photographing a hospital the other day, brand new hospital opening, and it was struggling to find focus sometimes. So that's one thing I've noticed. But I say for landscape photography, that's not an issue. And because of the res of the camera, as soon as I press the plus button there and zoom in and punch in, I can see, because of how much res I've got, I can see very clearly whether or not something's in focus or not. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen, whereas it just won't focus. So maybe that's user error, and I need to experiment with different. I've actually just done it now. Actually, I've just put it on a different area mode. I put it on wide small just to see if that was better than normally. I'm on single point AF, but I think maybe wide small might be better. Yeah. So other than that, absolutely nothing. So resolution, absolutely superb. It's the reason I bought the camera. I've done probably 10 panos with this thing at 47 megapixels, and I can't believe how big they are. They're incredible. I've zoomed right in with 400mm, and I've got some panos that I can't wait to put massive. We've got a huge. I've got a few clients that are renovating like hotels and B&Bs and restaurants, that sort of thing. They want big pictures, so these things are about 20 foot wide. I'm super excited to get them printed. So yeah, mega pleased with that. The resolution is the reason I bought this camera. I was hoping that Fuji might bring out the XH2, which was rumoured to have big resolution, but I just thought it'd be really nice to go for a full frame and get the resolution off a full frame, so you got that extra dynamic range, high ISOs and stuff. Yeah, sharpness, incredible. Tack sharp lenses, perfect. I couldn't be happier with the sharpness of these. Lightroom's always been a bit of a bugbear for me, and I've always worried about sharpening some of my Fuji files. I've always worried about getting sharp, especially when you print. I think if you're not printing, then sharpening is kind of overrated. But if once you go to print something and you want to see that detail, you want to see the clarity, you want to see what you've paid for basically with these expensive lenses. A few times I've printed and I just felt that the sharpening wasn't there. But editing, now I'm going to try and do this quick because I've got a few to go through. But editing, easy peasy. And I was worried about Nikon because years ago when I shot Canon weddings, I had a guy do a wedding with me, and his Nikon files were just felt blue. So I've always been put off with Nikon white balance, Nikon colours and stuff. But unless they've changed something, I was completely wrong, because this is brilliant. Not perfect, not Fuji colour. Fuji, I can edit a photograph in 30 seconds, but this, I've got so much more power, so much more control. Yes, I've figured that if you drop the hue slightly in the greens, you get a bit more of a natural looking green, as opposed to kind of a very vivid green. I think from the Nikon, it's a very vivid green, but I found out how to do that already, so that didn't take me very long at all. So yeah, I actually like editing these raw files. It's exciting when you punch in at stupid resolution to see sharp detail. It's very exciting. Yeah, the dynamic range, obviously everybody knows Nikon, these sensors are phenomenal for dynamic range, so that's nothing there. I'm not one for pushing dynamic range. I've always felt that get it right in camera, get the histogram to the right, bracket if you need to, use filters. So I'm not one to push. I've always been a bit reluctant to go over 2 or 3 stops with dynamic range. So it's nice to know you've got it. I think the dynamic range would be more important for me in like astrophotography, when you can lift the shadows at 6400 ISO, that sort of thing. That's where the dynamic range for me is going to come in handy. But yeah, big histogram. As I'm looking at the back of the camera, one of the bugbears I've got with the Fuji is the size of the histogram. The Fuji, I can just see it now on filming, and I can only just see it because it's tiny. This in the EVF and on the back of there, I love a big histogram. I love to be able to get rid of it if I want to, just press that and it goes. But yeah, I do really love a big histogram. How well you can see that, I don't know. But yeah, the nice big histogram, the bigger the better, really. I love that GFX because it's got that giant histogram thing at the bottom. That looks amazing. EVF and screen res. Now, this isn't something because this is like a 2-year-old camera or 18-month-old camera, whatever it is. I didn't expect the EVF to be any better than the XT3, XT4. Even though on the spec sheet it says it's the same res, it does feel better. The screen definitely feels cleaner. The XT4's got a very good screen actually, but the EVF on this is definitely better than the XT3 and XT4, even though they're supposed to be the same spec. I find this so much easier to see clarity, to see see tones and stuff, see sharpening. It might be down to the res, I don't know, could be down to the res. But yeah, I do think the EVF, even though on paper, 3.69 megapixel EVF, it does feel better, it does feel nicer to look through, and on some lenses it actually feels like if you put it in DSLR, it feels like a DSLR. So yeah, it's very cool to use. I would only upgrade this camera, I think, for the 2 card slots, which I thought would bugbear me, but it's not, because I'm confident now with the amount of research that I've done that the XQDs are super reliable. So I'm not that worried about that, and I will pick up 2 or 3. So if I did do a big job, I can swap straight away once I've done the job. So yeah, there's ways around that. But the definite thing is some of the new cameras have got huge upgrades, like 6 million megapixel EVFs. I can't wait to see what that looks like. I'm a massive EVF shooter. I love seeing that detail in the EVF. So yeah, that would probably be the only thing that I think I need on this. Faster focusing, yeah, people say that they're not great on these, but it's not the way I shoot. For landscapes, absolutely not an issue. So yeah, really, the Z7 Mark I over the Z7 Mark II was just less than half the price and a huge saving, and pretty much the same camera. So I don't actually know why more people aren't saying this. The Z7 Mark II, my mate Dave's got one, and the same camera. It's just got two card slots. I don't care what people say about this dual processor. You're shooting 1 frame a second, like max, when you're doing landscape photography. So I don't understand why everyone isn't running out and getting one of these, because I just think it's a steal compared to the Z7 Mark II. Let me know in the comments if you've got a Z7 Mark II and you've upgraded from the Mark I. Why? Right. Let me know, because other than the card slot and the yeah, it's a card slot, I can't think of anything else. Let me know, I might be wrong. But I've seen a few videos, people saying that the faster focusing and the more reliable IAF isn't that much better on the Mark II. So let me know, I might be wrong. Right, Z lenses and FDZ. Right, so we've mentioned the Z lenses. They are perfect. They are value for money, amazing. Yes, they really do need to sort out some primes, and they do need to. They're getting there. It's been out 2 years. It's getting there. I'm not going to criticise, because there's some Samyangs, there's some Tamrons, there's some Sigmas coming out that are all superb and extreme value for money. The next Sigma that I want to get is this. Is the Z mount version of that, and I think the retail on it's going to be about 800 quid. So, you know, superb value for money, and the Tamron the same. I think they're amazing. So there are lenses. Doesn't have to be native lenses. There are lenses out there available for extreme value, and they're awesome optics. I'm not sure if the resolution of this lens is up to 40 megapixel though. I've looked at a few images and it's hard to tell, because I've never had a 40 megapixel, 46 megapixel camera, whether or not you need to be careful about what lenses you're buying, because obviously these Z mount lenses are obviously phenomenal resolution, but I'm just not sure the Sigma is. Maybe that's why I'm noticing it's not as sharp, because the resolution isn't there. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you know. The FTZ adapter, which is on this, is superb. It is brilliant. It is absolutely. You can see I've got my little Arca plate there, because this lens doesn't have. Well, it does come with a third-party collar, but you can't rotate it. You can only shoot landscape. So I've put an Arca plate on the bottom of there, which doesn't interfere with my small rig thing there. It's absolutely fine. Doesn't rub on the front there. It's absolutely fine. Perfect. There's a couple of millimeters spare there, so that then balances on the tripod a lot better. But the focusing on this, I just think it's brilliant. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I'm annoyed as heck that my deal didn't come with one, even though it should have done really. But even though I bought it from a shop second hand, I had to pay 200 quid for this. So it would have been nice to have got that a bit less used. But either way, I'm really happy with the performance of the FTZ adapter. Though you do need to check which lenses you're going to buy, because I do read quite a lot of lenses that don't work on the FTZ adapter. There's one. But yeah, do check which lenses you've got. Right, okay. Value for money. We've mentioned value for money. Size, I think, is superb. As soon as you collapse the lens there, I think it's just superb. The build is just look at that. It's just rock solid. Oh, I love things like that. That's why I love my Fuji cameras, because the build on them is so good. But this just feels like you could stand out in the rain in it. Like it is rock solid. It really is. So yeah, these covers on the side, they are like, when they go down, they're in. You know, they are like the Sony, the A7 III I had. Absolutely no way did I believe that was weather sealed on the side there. I just wouldn't accept it. These proper gaskets, they are brilliant. They really do make you feel confident that if you're out in the snow or rain or whatever, that they're, obviously if you're not using a cable release, but if they're covered, it does feel like you've got a proper protection on your camera. Size menus. I went through the menu. I always, when I buy a new camera, I've been Fuji for ages now, but if I buy a new camera, spend the first few days going through the menus religiously. Just keep going through the menus. If you get a new camera, best advice I can give you, go through the menus, because every brand calls things different. And you're like, what the heck is this? How am I going to find that? And it's just, they've just named it differently. So the Nikon menu system, though, is absolutely... well, I've got a My Menu thing set up, so I've got everything I want set in a My Menu, which is really, as soon as I press menu, it goes straight into My Menu. So everything that I need access to straight away is there. And I just can't really find a fault with it. I think the menu is very easy to navigate. I mean, it's obviously different to the Fuji. A lot of people don't like the Fuji menu. I like the Fuji menu, but it didn't take me more than 2 days of just going through the menu, picking up the camera. Just pick up the camera. If you get a new camera, best advice, pick it up as much as you can. Try and get used to muscle memory. Try and get used to where your buttons are. If you're going to customize any buttons, which I've done quite a lot on this camera. Incidentally, I've got playback there on that front button there, just like I have on the Fuji, so I can one-handed look through the camera, press play and stuff, and see a photograph. I just much prefer having the play button there, and then that one changes my autofocus to single, from single to continuous there by pressing the bottom one. So yeah, I've got some things set up. I would like a bit more customization in stills mode. That record button, I've got to change my picture profile, so I can go to black and white, I can go to flat, I can go to landscape just by pressing that. It'll change there on the back. So that's really good. So I've got that button there, and then obviously I'm fully manual anyway, so I don't need anything else. Back button, focus, job done. The eye menu is superb. Eye menu is absolutely superb. When you're in stills mode, it's one thing. If you go to video, the eye menu is something else. I don't actually, because this isn't about. I didn't buy this for a video camera, so I haven't changed anything in the video side of the eye menu. Is that the eye menu for video? Yeah. So I've not changed anything. I don't know what's there. It's probably the previous owner. I didn't even reset the camera when I got it. But the eye menu for stills, I've customised. I don't know why you can see that. I've customised that. So I've got everything that I need. Just like I have on my Fuji, I've got my quick menu on the Fuji. That is all there. So yeah. What I didn't realise, I was actually going to mention one of the negatives. In fact, I will do in a minute. I'll get to the negatives in a minute. Custom buttons, yeah, I wish there was a bit more, but I'm happy with it as it is. You can put some old glass on there. There's lots of old lenses. People adapt old lenses. They seem to be working really well. Read a fair bit about that. No one's really having any issues. Face detect, couldn't be happier with it, even though I didn't buy this camera for that. It really does work, and I do trust it. I think I would probably have to give it a lot of practice before I use it professionally, but definitely Ellis running around in the garden, no issues whatsoever. Nailed every shot, and that was only at f4, zoomed right in at 70 to really test the lens. So IBIS to help the high-res files, because obviously I looked at the D850, I had that for 2 months, borrowed it off Dave again, he's now sold it, and I didn't get on with it because handheld I couldn't get any sharp shots at even 320th of a second. They just weren't sharp. So because it hasn't got the IBIS, now this has got IBIS, I still think, but because of the resolution, you've got to be careful with shutter speeds, and it's a camera I know that I'm going to use on a tripod most of the time. So yeah, the IBIS is a godsend, but a lot of people are saying you can use like 1/5 of a second. It depends how sharp you want your images and how much of a pixel PP you are. If I'm buying a 50 megapixel whatever camera, I want it to be sharp. So yeah. Yeah, I've got to be careful. I'm going to do a bit of experimentation, but I don't like really the idea now. I think the novelty of handheld IBIS slow shutter photographs have kind of worn off. They're never quite that sharp, are they? So battery is unbelievable, and it uses the old batteries. I've got 2 batteries. I've got an old previous generation, whatever you want to call it, Nikon Duracell battery off Amazon, 20 quid. Absolutely faultless, no issues whatsoever. So the battery on this is amazing, no issues whatsoever. But one that I'm not even noticing a difference. But yesterday I was out shooting in the snow all day, driving around Carmarthen, and I was on one battery, and it still wasn't even halfway through. So I came back. When I was on the mountain in the -20 a couple of weeks ago, the battery didn't move then either, and that was in serious cold. It went probably down to half. It's just all day in the snow, and it didn't really move. So the battery, I don't know what people are saying about the snaps that you get off these batteries, but they're talking rubbish because it lasts forever, especially if you're keeping it in the bag when you're not using it. So yeah, I just couldn't be happy with that. The Fuji, the X-T3, that one, I'll probably run out of battery in a minute. Right, the bad thing. I was going to say the timer turns off, the 2-second timer. When the camera, I haven't worked out how to do this actually. When you turn when it shuts off after you haven't pressed the button for a minute, when you turn the camera back on, the 2-second timer's gone. But then thanks to James Brew, whose YouTube channel I seen the other day, and he was given his setup, he's actually got in his iMenu this delay. If you've got a Z camera and you didn't know this, if you put 2-second timer on there, I'm assuming that camera's still working. I'm going to go that. If you've got 2-second timer on there and it goes, and the camera turns off, or you turn the camera off, when the camera comes back on, like the X-T3 does, drives me nuts. The X-T4 doesn't, it stays on. When this comes back on, 2-second timer's gone. But if you go to the iMenu and assign delay, I've got the delay button there assigned in the iMenu. Thank you, James, if you're watching this. Really, really appreciate that. Head over, check out James's YouTube channel. Put a link in the description. He's put the delay button there, so I can go to all these different delay options. I can have 1 second, 2 second, 3 second delay there, and it stays on. So if I turn the camera off and then back on again, if I go back into the iMenu, it's still got delay, 3-second timer. So you'll hit the shutter, and then there's a 3-second delay before it will take the photograph. That's brilliant. So yeah, thank you for James for that. Really, really, that was one of the things that was really annoying me. And I know Dave, I was out with Dave the other day and he didn't know that. So if Dave's watching this, he'll appreciate that. There was another thing that James told me actually, I can't remember what it was now. Yeah, the iMenu screen. I can't remember why that's in Birds. But anyway, no thirds. For a landscape photography camera not to have thirds, I think is absolutely abysmal. I don't understand that. So it is, because sometimes you can't quite see the screen that well. It's just, I just find that the rule of thirds grids are so important. This instead of got a 9, it's got a 12 grid. Why? So I'm kind of tempted to get a permanent marker and draw a grid on the back of it. But anyway, no clear view. Absolutely annoying as heck that when you're taking a photograph, you can't see. That's the least you can get. I don't know why you can see that. You just can't get a clear view, and it's really annoying. And the only way, when you take a picture, you get a clear view then when you play back either through the EVF on the screen. So if you take a picture, then you can look at your composition and make sure your corners are clean. You can make sure that you're maximising the most of your sensor, and you're not going to be end up cropping just that bit that hasn't got the numbers on. So that is really bad. Oh yeah, iMenu screen. iMenu, that's what it is. iMenu screen is the dot, is the menu button there, the I button on the screen next to the I button. Why? And you can't remove it. You can't get rid of that I button on the screen. It does the same thing as that. You can't get rid of it. And it just takes up valuable space on the screen and it won't go. And it's naff and I hate it and I just wish it would go. So yeah, that is what that was. Yeah, no, right, Fuji colours. I've put that on the list because when I first got this, I was really worried about the Fuji colours. Now, yes, I do love my classic chrome. Even for landscape photography, I love my Acros. I love my Provia. I love Proneg Standard. I love all my Fuji colours, but I must admit, it just means that I've got to slow down and edit my photographs a little bit more seriously. And yeah, it's just not going to be as fast for me editing the photographs. But that's absolutely fine. Coming from Fuji, one of the things that's driving me nuts, I mean, it's only got a flip screen like that, right? Now, this is the sort of lens, screen I prefer. I don't like the flip screen that's on the X-T4. For photography, I much prefer this. So with the X-T3, you've got the vertical flip, which obviously around there, you can, when the camera's vertical, you can pull out the bottom and you've got like a low level view as well. That is the only thing I think that, I mean, I don't know why whether or not Nikon can't implement it in this, or whether they just don't like it or what. That is the number one thing that when I think if the camera's low to the floor, I just wish quite a lot that already that would flip out vertically. It really, so when you're like that, I just really miss that with the X-T3. One of the reasons why the X-T4, which is filming now, I would never really use for landscape photography. I know it's a huge divide in it. A lot of people prefer flip screens. For me, for photography, absolutely no way. I just do not get on with them. But yeah, other than that, I mean, the screen itself is absolutely fantastic, and it just feels bomb-proof. Straight away, I've got my screen protector on there as well. It's things like that, how you can hold that very comfortably, like hardly holding it. You know what I mean? Its balance is perfect. Just to finish, I don't think there's a negative as such, but it's important, whatever gear you've got, you know your gear. And I think some lenses don't seem to focus anywhere near as well as others. And I'm really, really happy with, once this locks on and in good light, it's fine. I think with good contrast, it's absolutely fine. It's as good as any camera. Well, not as good as the Sony, but it seems really, really good. This is a lot slower. And I don't think that's anything to do with the camera, but I think when you're going across ecosystems, when you're going to the F-mount lenses, there's going to be things that you have to think about when you're buying it. I mean, obviously buying this lens as a landscape photography lens, it doesn't matter if it takes half a second or 2 seconds to focus. I'd like it to be instant, but it doesn't really matter. I remember actually this 70-200 Sony f4 I had in low light when I was on the mountain once, that wouldn't focus. I had huge hunting issues with that Sony f4. So there's no perfect lens, and I think people just need to know the weaknesses of your gear. But otherwise, I can't really recommend this camera enough. I think, yeah, if I wasn't going to be printing big, if I wasn't going to be I'm basically trying to build up a portfolio gallery, an online gallery of some really high-res, large format images, and I want the Fuji just wasn't going to be able to do it. The camera I wanted to buy was a GFX, and then I looked at I could have bought the body and one lens, but then the rest of the lenses I just would have been screwed. For the money, for the size, I mean, the GFX, one of the best photographs I've taken already. Well, I can't wait to get it printed. It was taken at 400mm, and I just don't think I would have been able to do that on the GFX. I don't know what lenses are available, but just the size of them lenses and the portability, and the fact that I'm carrying a YouTube setup as well, just means that this, for the size and weight and the compactness, I just think it's unbeatable. I really am happy. I wouldn't have considered the Canon, the R5, because of the costs. The ecosystem for that just looks extortionate, although it does look incredible, ignoring the overeating issues. It does look incredible, and the flip screen. I just think value for money, the Z7 Mark 1 is incredible, and I can't recommend it enough. The thing I will mention is I was worried. One of the things when Nikon bought this out was the size of the silly mount. It's flipping huge. It's massive. But when I got my Sony, within 2 weeks, I had to clean the sensor. There was dirt in it, and this, because it's so big, I don't know if it's because it's so big or what, but dirt goes in but seems to come out again as well, because I haven't actually there's nothing in there. I do give it a blow because it's big and I'm a bit cautious of it, but because of the sensor so big, the aperture so big there, it seems to come out easier than the Sony. The Fuji's fine, that hardly ever gets anything in it, but I was worried like hell about this. So yeah, really pleased that this isn't having any issues whatsoever. And so yeah, loving these function buttons here on the front there, absolutely pleased as punch. I really can't fault it, to be honest. I think the ergonomics, the little screen there is really nice touch. I don't use that. I'd like to be able to use that as something else, the aperture, compensation. I'd like to be able to assign that for something else, because I shoot fully manual all the time, so that's a wasted button for me. But other than that, yeah, I don't think there's anything else. These small rig things are phenomenal if you're ever tempted to get one. Well, is it? Yeah, cool. Well, anyway, I hope that's been helpful. I'm sorry if it's gone on very long, but yeah. Thanks so much for watching. I hope that's been of some use for you. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And yeah, I've got loads of videos that I've done. I've got about 6 videos with this camera already. I've been out and shot loads with it. So yeah, if you're thinking I've only had this camera a month, why am I doing... It's not a review, it's just first impressions, but I have shot loads with it, and I'm really happy with it. So yeah, check out F8 magazine, as I said, if you haven't. Links in the description for that. Super proud of this, not because I'm on the front cover, well, not I'm in the front cover, but nice to be the front. of a magazine. But yeah, there's some fantastic stories in it about the backstories behind the images and stuff like that. So I'm really, really proud of it. And there's some amazing photographs in there, like some really, really quirky images. So really, really pleased to have this. And yeah, we had a delay over December with the F8 magazine. So if you're a subscriber to F8, thank you so much, and apologies, huge apologies for the delay, not being able to get the magazine out in December. But yeah, thanks for watching. See you again soon, guys. Take care.